Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda, I am autistic and I have ADHD. It's typically my style, if you're new here, that I do as little editing as possible because I want people who are allistic, which means non-autistic, to experience what a person who is late diagnosed and working on the unmasking process looks like and sounds like as an actually autistic person. Some editing is required, but I do minimal editing. Also, it is important so that people can kind of understand and learn that autism is not a static disability. And some videos you are going to watch and I'm going to be more fluent and have a different energy. And other videos like today, my brain is really struggling to make the words want to come out of my mouth, and I'm having a harder time with speech today. But I want to keep making videos because making videos, I have videos on here where I talk about doing your special interest is actually something that helps regulate an autistic person, and creating content is something that is my special interest. And so creating content is something that really brings me fulfillment. And it's really frustrating when the ideas are in my head. I have so much I want to say, but days like this where I just am having a harder time getting them out. I go into a video that talks specifically about what's going on with my head, right? Like this type of processing, and I will make sure to link that. But today I want to talk about autistic organizations, advocacy organizations, also sometimes referred to as charities. And if a organization calls themselves an autistic charity, that's going to be one of your first big red flags. But basically, when I first learned I was autistic, I wanted to, learn more about autism, and I would Google different websites, and I'd be very kind of confused about what's a which of the organizations are actually working to help me, an autistic person, which ones are beneficial. And it became very overwhelming because it was just hard to kind of decipher out this information. So I just kind of put it aside. But a couple of days ago, my interest was My interest was reinvigorated. A lot of times when autistic people pause, it's because we really love words and we love precision of words. And so there's like a specific word that I want to say and it won't come out. So then I will pause or stutter, which can make me lose my train of thought. Part of when I do my videos, I try to say what's going on in my head, which a normal or most often autistic people won't do, but I'm working to do that as a education thing. I'm really having a tough time today, but I want to do this. Hopefully I can get through this video. Okay. Getting in my head right now, but it's okay because this is what happens. Some days autistic people can talk and be very, very fluid, and some days the knowledge is there, it just can't come out. Okay. Autistic organizations. So things that you want to look for in an autistic organization. First thing is that the organization has actually autistic members on their board. There are some organizations that are to support autism, and they don't actually talk to autistic people. Some of them are parents of autistic children, and that's also good because we want a variety and we want caretakers of autistic people to have a voice too. But we need actually autistic adults also on the board. A second thing is if the organization uses identity first language. So what this means is that I say, my name's Amanda, I'm autistic. I'm autistic, not I am a person with autism. That's person first language. In the community, it is generally accepted that autistic people like identity first language to say, I am autistic. And this is because autism is our brains. We have a different brain than an allistic, which is a non-autistic person. It affects everything from our personality to our health to it's our identity. It is who we are. So when you have an organization that says, oh, you aren't your autism, you can be above your autism, then that is, again, red flag. And it sounds like they want to change us instead of work with the brains we have. It's like back in the olden days when, you'd have someone with a left hand and a right hand, and they would try to make left-hand people use their right hand. These organizations are trying to make people with autistic brains try to use their brain like a neurotypical person, and it's not going to work because we have different wiring in our brains. A third thing is that the organization supports the social model of disability instead of the medical model of disability. And I'm going to put a graphic up here that really goes over the differences in a pretty precise way. In the medical model of disability, the person is disabled by the abnormalities and deficits of their own body or brain. So it blames the person, but in like the social model, the person is disabled by their environment and its physical attitudinal, I don't know that word, I'm sorry, communication and social barriers. It's not the disabled person's fault that they're disabled. It's not putting the responsibility on the disabled person to change. It's putting the responsibility on the community to support and accommodate the disabled person. The medical model really sees disabled people as broken, abnormal, or damaged versions of a human being, and that they need to be fixed, cured, or even prevented. But the social model of disability says that people are normal, valid varieties of human beings and should have equal rights and access to society just as they are. Like, we're disabled, but we are still valid and have a right to be here just as much as an able-bodied person. Medical model says since the disabled person's impairments prevent them from functioning normally, they should have caregivers and professionals to make decisions for them. The disabled person is an object of charity and a receiver of help. But the social model says that the disabled person is inherently equal. They have a right to autonomy, choice, and free and informed consent on their own lives. Obviously, there are some disabilities that need caretakers, like a lot of autistic level 3 people need more assistance sometimes, depending on their communication level. And sometimes that's just because they didn't have access to communication boards. Some level 3 autistic people would be able to find ways to communicate. We just have not given them that accommodation. A lot of them were written off as not being able to communicate, kind of like Helen Keller. They thought that because she was blind and deaf, that she did not want to or have a way to communicate. There's a lot of autistic people who can hear and understand everything you're saying, but like today where I'm having trouble speaking, their trouble is so much greater that words don't come out of their mouth, but by using communication boards and other methods, they can communicate. Nico Bosovic, I think is his name. I will link him down. He's a nonverbal autistic advocate who writes poetry and has a Facebook page where he talks about his experience as a nonverbal autistic person who had access to communication tools. The medical model says the disabled person should adjust to fit into society since they are the ones who are not normal. Being part of society means rising above a disability, which again, the medical model of disability is the way that our society has been built and is functioning, and is why ableism is just systemic, because it is the foundation of how disabled people have been treated. But now we are trying to move over to the social model. Again, the social model says the disabled person should be supported by society because they are equal and have a right to inclusion. The community should adjust its own barriers and biases. So when you're looking for a advocacy group that you want to be a part of and support, if they are talking any of the things that sound like the medical model of disability, then right away that's a red flag and you want to stay away from them. Which kind of goes into my next point, that they should be talking about accommodation and accessibility, not cures and recovery. So there are autistic organizations out there that try to promote that there are cures for autism, and that's not true. When somebody says that they've been cured of autism, what that means is that they have been trained into presenting as neurotypical so as to not be a bother to a neurotypical society, but it's at the detriment of their own mental and physical well-being. Autism, again, is how our brains are made. We can't cure it. It's not a disease. It's a different variety of human. 5 is really easy. If there's a puzzle piece, you probably want to run away, because the adult autistic community has spoken. And at first, when I first found out I was autistic, this one kind of like, it felt like, oh, the missing puzzle piece of why I felt so different of my life. So the puzzle piece made sense to me at first, but that's not how the puzzle piece was intended or represented. And it infantilizes autistic people, and it basically became the symbol for Autism Speaks, which is one of the worst autistic organizations out there, and unfortunately it is also the most well-known one. So anything, and if you kind of dive into the history of the puzzle piece, now it's like when I see the puzzle piece, it's an immediate red flag for me, and I just want to stay away from them. You want to make sure you have an organization that is using current language around functioning labels. So we do not say high functioning and low functioning autism anymore. Right now, it's about support levels. I'm a level 1. There's level 2 and level 3. I have some more videos about that, so I'm not going to go into more detail on that one. So another important thing that you want to look for in an organization is that the funding goes towards services such that benefit autistic people, such as housing, jobs, education opportunities for autistic people. Like, again, autism and intellectual disabilities are separate disabilities. About 1/3 of autistic people, I think I read that it was about 1/3, have a comorbidity of intellectual disabilities. And that still doesn't mean that they don't deserve the right to have education. But a lot of people collapse intellectual disabilities with autism, and it's just not the case. A lot of autistic people excel in higher education because we are like the queens and kings of research. When we are regulated and we are interested in a topic, we love deep diving and learning so much. But a lot of universities are just not accessible for many autistic people because the pace and the social and the sensory experience. So organizations that would advocate for IEP, like more accommodations for higher level education for autistic people, because we can do the work, we just need to do it in a different way. Also, my son, that's his service dog right there. I think that we need more organizations that are promoting and helping autistic people get service dogs. Since getting service dog for my son, it has helped with some of his autistic traits, panic attacks. He's able to regulate himself, so much more. And I think that service dogs should be not a scarcity. We just need more people training and funding service dogs, because a service dog school costs like $40,000 for a dog. We did owner training, but that was still very expensive. We didn't have any assistance for that. Also, funding for healthcare, working on getting autistic diagnoses more accessible, because a lot of people can't even afford to find out if they are medically autistic because their insurance doesn't cover it for adults, or there's just no providers in their area that do adult autistic evaluations. Which also kind of leads into my next point, that it would be awesome for an organization to provide continuing education on current autistic research to therapists, doctors, and researchers. Well, the researchers would kind of be doing the research, but that kind of thing. A big red flag is if the organization supports ABA, which is the words out of my head, something behavioral. Hold on, let me look it up. Applied behavioral analysis. You usually just hear ABA, so I couldn't remember the word for it. Applied behavioral analysis was started by the same guy who wanted to do conversion therapy for gay people. It's just rooted in really negative. It's all about, again, trying to make an autistic person appear neurotypical and fit in and cause less problems and be less of a burden. It is the equivalent of dog training a human being. Now, I'm going to add some caveats to this. Unfortunately, there are some insurances that will only provide ABA help for children, and some autistic children need some kind of assistance. And if you're a parent and you need help and that's all your insurance can afford, I'm not going to say don't, you know what I mean? And then there are some autistic kids who put their bodies in harm, either being a flight risk, running out into traffic, or self-harming themselves. A lot of kids bang their heads against the wall or the floor. And these are things that need to have a way to not happen. And, you know, sometimes occupational therapy doesn't work for some of these behaviors. And, you know, in general, ABA is not something you want to do with your child, but there are circumstances where it is the only available option. But again, that needs to change. And there are some people who are changing what ABA means, but I don't really support that, because ABA, again, is just founded in so much negativity that if you want to create a new therapy that isn't harmful, then we just need a new name for it. That's my opinion on that. But they used to actually literally use shock therapy in ABA, and now that is taken out. Although someone in my comments recently said that they have heard shock therapy still being used in some places, which is just mind-boggling to me. And last thing that would be really great to see in a autistic organization is if they have the ability to support and host conferences that allow autistic individuals to speak and share their real life lived experience as an autistic person. So I am going to, okay, I'm trying to get the words out again. My head is stuck. It's like I have all these words and they just don't want to come out correctly. What I want to say is that this vlog is me learning out loud. I am learning out loud with you, and I'm sharing things as I go. So when I first, like I said at the beginning of the video, when I first came across and I was like, oh, let's look up organizations, and I got overwhelmed, I had to put it away. This is where I am at right now. I found this list. These are some things that I would want to look at and look for in an organization. Now, I have not done the next step, the work to actually find organizations that fit this list. What I will do is I found a website that this person has done some work, and they have a list of what they feel are good organizations and bad organizations. This list is from 2019, so it's, you know, in today's society where things are fast-paced, I don't know how updated it is, but I'm going to link it down in the description box. And so they highlight the name of the organization, and they say what they think is good and what they say is bad about the organizations that they like and ones they don't like. And I'm going to spend some time going through that list and kind of like looking at the different organizations myself. Oh my gosh, I just remembered when I had that brain stop at the beginning of the video, why my interest got piqued in this topic again is because my sister sent me a food package that she got that had a label on it that said autism approved food. And I was like, what? You can't have an autistic approved food. There's people who, no autistic person is going to agree on the same food. Like, I'm autistic and I love spicy, crunchy, full textured foods. My kids need very bland, consistent foods. We're both autistic, but we're on the opposite spectrum. That's where your spectrum is of what we like of food. So I feel like an organization that would put that on a food label is trying to monetize autism for their own benefit. And sure enough, when I looked up that specific organization, they are an organization that feels like autism should be cured with supplements. So, yeah, no, you cannot have an autistic approved food. So that's why it kind of re-piqued my interest in this. That's why I started looking it up. And that's why I came up with this list of things that I would look for in an organization. And now I want to do some work to look at organizations that are ones that I feel like I could put my name behind. I haven't got that far yet with you guys. So if you have some organizations that you've done the work on and that you feel that you really love to support their work, please comment below with the names of those organizations. And same thing, If you have organizations that you don't like, and you've done the work and they are not really supportive of autism, put those down in the comments too. And my last tip for the day is, which I've not been drinking, I got it. Sometimes it's fun to put your water in a fun cup. Like this is a wine glass, but sometimes my brain is more excited to drink out of fun, silly cups than other cups. So today I grabbed this one before the video so it helped me remember to drink my water, because it's visually stimming. It makes me happy when I see the cup, and therefore it's going to make me want to actually drink from it. So that's my hack. If you got through the video, thank you so much. Oh God, it's like all the thoughts are just there. I know it's hard to sit with an autistic person who is talking slow and stuttering or having their words come out slowly, but it's important, and thank you for being here with me.